a lot of people who are here: Ash, Ari, Francie, Kevin, Ray, Samantha, Steph, and Vidura. So we are all here at this moment. It's hot today in LA, as it should be, right? It's supposed to be hot in Los Angeles. It's not supposed to be cold here, but it often is. And for meditation, it can actually be quite good for it to be too hot and also too cold, because we start to be able to connect with this way of not just indulging ourselves, not just, oh, it's a little bit too hot, now I need to go and turn on the AC, or I need to go to a different place, but we can kind of sit in the heat. We can let the heat kill us, let the heat melt us. Maybe that's a more gentle way of saying it. So when it's too hot, let the heat melt you. When it's too cold, let the cold freeze you, right? Just like a solid block of ice. So we are going to continue now with the where we left off from yesterday's activity, where we are reading through and from some talks from my teacher, Sayadaw, Ashin, Ottamasara, the founder of Tabarwa Center. Tabarwa Center has meditation centers all over the world, especially here in Los Angeles and also in Italy. So if you like to visit a meditation center, you have some options. You have some places where you can go. And of course, the main center of Sayadaw Ottamasara is in Myanmar. It's also possible to go there. So as with any real good Dhamma talk and expression of wisdom, it is as much an invitation as it is anything else. Does anyone have any questions or comments or something to share before we begin today, before we get into it? It's good that we can start to turn our attention inward, start to notice rather than to do, start to experience rather than to move towards this or that or away from this or that, but we just start to experience what is happening right now. We're not doing anything. We're not going anywhere. We just start to experience, and we start to notice, right? We start to notice there's a sound, or there's a light, or there's a color, there's a feeling in the body. We stop to be doing anything. We stop to be involved in anything. We just find a kind of stable meditation position or a comfortable position to put our body down. And putting the body down, finding a meditation position, is very much like we are detaching from the outside world. Because primarily, how are we getting attached? How are we getting involved in the outside world, right? It's with our body. It's with our vocal cords. It's with our response to our sense organs, to the sense experiences that we have. So when we put the body down, this is this first stage of to detach from the outside world and start to show up, start to notice, start to experience itself. So we find that position Start to become aware of breathing, right? The breath is happening, certainly. Hopefully, no one dies during this call, or if anyone watches the recording, I hope that you don't die during this call. So we're all breathing. We're all awake and aware, and we just start to sink into that. And as we give more attention to the breath, we can fill our whole body up with this noticing and aware presence. And we can feel a kind of lightness, almost a floating, the body sitting upright. We always experience the heaviness of the body, we're dragging it around with us all the time, but also to experience the lightness of the body as we are just seated comfortably and breathing. And we fall, we sink, we settle more and more into this noticing only, experiencing only, detaching from a person or place or thing, or a time, or a situation. We just to put all that down and experiencing only, breathing only, aware only. So we have to have this willingness to experiment with abandoning. Okay? You feel your body for sure. You know about, you might like this, you might like that. Don't know about it too much, because then you start to inspire this desire or this fear. But the body likes this, likes that, relationships, different social positions, all that. Great, no problem. But this willingness to abandon, this willingness to give up, just breathing, just sitting, just releasing right now, opening, widening. So we'll start our reading, our teachings from Sayadaw, the meditation master, here today, with a quote that's on the back of this book. And this isn't a book that's widely in print. It's not a ebook format available, but we're going to go through it together, some of it today. There's a quote from the back. Not rejecting means using only, experiencing only, doing only, and being mindful only. Not attaching means to abandon the mental centering on the created truths. Okay? We have a lot of created truths in our lives. We have a lot of games of thinking and self and other and stories that we center on. That we make them to be our touchstone or our pivot point in our lives. Oh, I'm going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I like this, I don't like that. I have this idea about next week. Not attaching means to abandon the mental centering on the created truths. These are just conditional created truths. And no satisfaction, no lasting satisfaction can be found on anything that is conditional. Any satisfaction that you get from a conditioned experience, meaning any mental or physical experience, is inherently not satisfactory because in its arising, it is going to pass away. So even in that grasping, even in that moment of experiencing, there is not satisfaction because you will lose it. So to the degree that you like it and to enjoy it and attach to it, that is to the degree that you will experience the loss of it. Okay, so we've got two options today, and we're going to go to the fellow participants. We have the option of reading from a talk. So that's what we did yesterday. We read out and did some discussion, and I added some commentary to a talk from this meditation master, Sayadaw Ottamasara. Or we can listen to one of them again, and a different one. Or we can go through question and answer. So there's like a question and answer that's recorded here of meditators who ask questions to the master, and then he gives answers to them. So who wants to vote? Who has a vote for this? Which one should we do? The fly is making their voice known. How about some humans in this meeting? Oh. Could you say that again, Anna? Oh, no. I can't hear anyone. Oh. I have one moment. How about now? I couldn't hear before. Anna?
Yeah, I was going for the first one.
Anna wants to hear the Dhamma talk, the talk. Is that right, Anna?
Yes, that's right.
All right, Vidura is voting for questions and answers. Come on now, everyone. Let's participate. Let's vote.
I vote for the first one.
For the second one.
Oh my goodness.
It's hard to choose because either option would be enlightening. I think that's the problem with choosing. I know both of them are going to be beneficial. Maybe we can do something different. I guess for the sake of something new, I will vote for the second option.
I vote for the second one too.
All right, so we're going to... These are both created truths, so we don't need to think too much about it. And they both carry with them wisdom. So we will just dive into it and see what happens. All right. Neither rejecting nor attaching. You cannot be really free from greed if you want to reject the greed. If you attach and indulge in your greed, this also cannot give rise to real freedom. So we'll start with this first question. How do I meditate when sitting in meditation? You must try to know whatever happens to your body or to the mind naturally. The body is always changing. The mind is always changing. What you must do is to be aware of the present happening all the time. Be mindful to the present arising simply, without the idea of I or you, someone or something. Don't think about yourself or other people. Don't think about time and place. Try to meditate only. If you are happy, try to know your happy mind simply, without the idea of someone or I. You must not reject whatever happens to the mind and body, and you must also not attach to whatever happens to your mind or body. A problem that a lot of people run into when they start to approach meditation is that they have such a strong self and I fixation about my body and my mind that they are unable to start looking at the experience of the mind or the experience of the body rather than your idea about the body or your idea about the mind. So we can cross this initial barrier, and we need this to cross this initial barrier of a curiosity, okay, and also a trust in the possibility of investigation. That through looking more closely, through investigating, we can develop our understanding. But we have to detach from, totally give up this idea of the body and this idea of the mind. Even for a person who has no interest in meditation or spirituality, you can understand that your idea of the body is not the body. Your idea of the mind is not the mind. So what is it? Right? What is going on? What is the truth of the experience of your body or mind at any given moment? And this is where we begin the practice of meditation, with this investigation, with this curiosity, and especially with this willingness to detach, to give up our fixation on my body or my mind, which is simply your idea of the body and your idea of the mind, which really is just nonsense. It's not anything. So the question is, how do I meditate when sitting in meditation? How do we do it, right? We're all here to meditate. We're all here to get into a meditation practice. How do I do it? You must try to know whatever happens to your body or to the mind naturally. The body is always changing. The mind is also always changing. What you must do is to be aware of the present happening all the time. Be mindful to the present arising simply. So be mindful to the present, what is arising, what is being experienced simply at this moment, without the idea of I or you, someone or something. So it's a kind of active process that we experience a feeling in the body or a feeling in the mind as it is at this moment, and we don't get, and then that self kind of comes up, right? I'm experiencing this, I don't like this, or whatever. And then we come back to just experiencing the present happening. The body and mind are always changing, so that present happening is always something that can be looked at simply and experienced simply without reifying, rebuilding, developing this sense of an I or a someone or a something. Don't think about yourself or other people. Don't think about time and place. Try to meditate only. If you are happy, try to know your happy mind simply, without the idea of someone or I. You must not reject whatever happens to the mind and body, and also you must not attach to whatever happens to your mind or body. So it's a clear instruction. We're not rejecting, and it's a practice. It's not that you become this captain not rejecting or this captain not attaching. It's a practice. It's meditation. So not only do we not reject any of our experiences, so like this is bad, this is wrong, this is painful, need to get rid of it, but we experience only, we can move only. You don't need to reject the pain, but you also don't need to attach to this idea, I need to sit still. You need to meditate only. So you must not reject whatever happens to the mind and body, and also you must not attach to whatever happens to your mind or body. You start to see chakras, your third eye starts to open, your butt starts to hurt, your heart starts to beat a little bit quicker or something, or you have a kundalini body awakening. You don't attach to it. It doesn't really matter. And that it doesn't really matter means to continue being aware of the present happenings without this self or I or me or mine. And sure, good experiences will happen that are very helpful to you. And difficult experiences that will happen that are very difficult, right? But we just don't attach to them. We continue to notice and be aware of the present happenings of the body and mind that are always changing, for sure. Minds and bodies are not much different one from another. What you must do is to be mindful of the present happening. Be mindful to the present situation of the mind and body. While doing so, you must be careful not to attach or reject the present happening or situation. Try to be free from rejecting the present happening or situation. You might feel well, or you might feel sick. Whatever happens in your mind or body, you must be mindful to the present happening. You should not be happy or sad. In this way, you will understand the mind is not your mind. Mind is just mind, to use only and to be mindful only, neither to be rejected nor attached, not something, not someone. To know the truth about the mind, you have to meditate. To know the truth about the mind, you have to get involved. All right? You have to get involved in experiencing only, seeing only, hearing only, breathing only, sitting only. Not someone, not something. The ideas of something or everything, someone or everyone, these are the real problems. The truth is not something, not someone, but to use only, to do only, to be mindful only, and to experience only. Because of attachment, we take care of ourselves too much. In fact, the truth is no self, non-self. You think there is self. You think there is someone. The truth is non-self. Because of attachment, you see something, you see someone, you see trees and the sky as reality because there is attachment. Whatever we do it with attachment. Attachment for living beings and non-living beings. This is why whatever we see it as something, because of attachment for something. Because of attachment for place, you understand this is my country. This understanding is coming from attachment for the place. On account of attachment to belongings, such as this is my luggage, this is my friend, whatever we do, there is attachment. This is why we cannot know for ourselves the original truth that is ever new impermanent nature. If there is no attachment, you can see the truth of ever new impermanent nature clearly. When we see something or someone as reality or as of real importance. Because of attachment, we cannot see the truth, we cannot see clearly the truth of impermanent nature. Because of attachment for something or someone, and attachment for living beings and non-living beings. We think of whatever we see as living beings and non-living beings because of attachment to what we see. If there was no attachment, seeing would be seeing only. Hearing would be hearing only. Doing would be doing only. And mindfulness would be mindfulness only without attachment. Because of attachment to male and female as reality, you see this is a male, this is a female. So this someone, this something, this someplace, this sometime that we experience has nothing to do with those things having a someone nature, a some self nature, bad person nature, good person nature. But it's because of our attachment that we are seeing something, seeing someone, seeing good, seeing bad. If we are able to abandon our attachment, if we are able to live more in line with ever new impermanent nature, with the truth, seeing will be seeing only. Breathing will be breathing only. Helping will be helping only. And we need to get involved in this. The younger, the better. The more that we can get involved, the more that we can put forth a right effort in terms of right understanding, the better. Not just because this is the truth, not just because someone says it's the truth or we believe it's the truth, but because this is how we can be skillful in any given situation. It's from our attachment that we are unskillful. It's from our attachment that we suffer. It's from our attachment that we make judgments. It's from our attachment that we are not able to act skillfully and clearly, regardless of person or place, good or bad, right or wrong, to reduce suffering, to end suffering in the deepest, most meaningful, most comprehensive way. So we need to practice, we need to learn how to develop this seeing only, experiencing only. We do that in our meditation practice. We try out, we vote for abandoning, not obeying our desire. We compete for mindfulness and detachment rather than desire and reactivity. And we really need to take care. We really need to be careful. There are a lot of suffering beings in the world. There is so much suffering in the world. So we need to be as skillful as we possibly can. And this seeing only, experiencing only is the highest level of skill that someone can aspire to. This mindfulness and detachment, this moving and being in the present without a someone or a something. In any situation, in all situations. I like the analogy about, we think this is some kind of like high-minded spiritual idea about compassion or wisdom or Buddhism or something like that, but this applies to everything. This applies to mixed martial arts. If you go into a professional fight or a high-level competition with someone, a sport, something like that, the more that you are stuck in your mind of someone or something, the more that you are stuck in attachment to desire or anger, the more able you are to be exploited. The less you are able to be like water, right? Bruce Lee said, "Be like water, my friend." That we can act without attachment, without someone or something, without past or future, but acting only, doing only, helping only, kindness only. When we practice like this, we can be the victor in the MMA ring of doing good deeds and ending suffering in the world. If there is no attachment, you can see the impermanent nature as it is, the original truth, ever new impermanent nature, not the body or the mind, which are just ever new impermanent nature. When you know this truth, there will be no attachment. If there is attachment, there is non-enlightenment. If there is detachment, there is enlightenment. The aim of meditation is to become enlightened. Okay? And Ajahn Chah was talking about this a couple days ago when we were looking at the teachings of Ajahn Chah about don't aim for anything else. Don't aspire to anything else. When you show up here, when you invest in your meditation practice, there is one goal, one destination, one truth that we are hoping to establish ourselves in. And that is enlightenment. That is nibbana. That is the cessation of all sufferings. Okay? If there is attachment, there is non-enlightenment. If there is detachment, there is enlightenment. The aim of meditation is to be enlightened. To understand the two kinds of original truth, ever new impermanent nature and permanent nature, it is necessary to understand what we currently know is just created truth. That's humbling, but it's true for all of us, right? What we currently know about, especially if we are, we've just gotten signed, we've just gotten onto the roster of doing good deeds and practicing mindfulness and detachment. For most of us, everyone, all that we know about is created truth. Someone, something, past and future, some game that we're playing, right? Some idea we think we're going to go somewhere, we think we're going to have some experience, then we're going to do this. It's all complete nonsense. In that, not that it can't be used, not that it's not practical in some way, but that it is just a created truth. It is not the real truth. The real truth is the impermanence of all those ideas, all those beliefs. So all that we really know is created truth. This opens the door to not knowing. This opens the door to experiencing only, breathing only, being present with someone who we are a caretaker for only. Not waiting for the coffee or the next place or the next spot or the problem that's waiting around the corner, the bill that we have to pay. No. Full stop. Only being there with that person only. All that we currently perceive, mind and body, life, living beings and non-living beings, are all just created truth. No created truth is permanent. The original truth is ever new impermanent nature and permanent nature, which are constant and forever. And that is not according to the belief of someone. That is not something, some belief, but it's according to your experience. Question. Did you say the aim of meditation is the end of attachment? Answer from Sayadaw. The aim of meditation is to be free from attachment. Attachment is always in our mind. Attachment to living beings and non-living beings. It arises because of not knowing the original truth. Ever new impermanent nature and permanent nature, which are constant and forever. Ugliness is due to greed, craving, and love to attachment. Beauty is due to generosity and the desireless mind. Okay, does anyone have any questions about what we've read so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, Taco.
Would you mind going a bit into the words themselves? What does the word meditation mean? What does the word enlightenment mean, or what these words can mean?
Well, it's similar to what walking means. Walking doesn't mean anything until you go for a walk. Meditation doesn't mean anything until you practice it. Enlightenment doesn't mean anything until you are willing to abandon your desire, until you are willing to detach from what you are holding on to. In this case, some idea of a particular definition according to someone or something. So the real definition of these words is ever new impermanent nature. Not only the impermanence of the sound, not only impermanence of what it's pointing to, but impermanence to your sense faculties, your body and mind, fundamentally and totally impermanent. So when we practice meditation, that is to look into this case, this situation, to investigate what is happening right now. And we don't rely on definitions, words, or phrases to do that. Okay, it's actually antithetical to the process of meditation to rely on words and phrases to meditate. We're practicing detachment from words and phrases. And enlightenment is, as Sayadaw said here, the ending, I didn't say specifically here, but the ending of relying on created truth. Okay, and that is going to be experiential. Enlightenment is going to be the end of craving, the end of attaching to created truth, stories, beliefs, a feeling of permanence or consistency to the body or mind. So as we abandon that, we are able to experience detachment and to experience enlightenment. And Julian here added something. Julian said, experience is the truth. There is no need for an understanding. Now, if someone's telling you that there's a comet that has aliens on it and you need to drink the Kool-Aid to catch the comet, I wouldn't listen to Julian in that case. But when we're talking about investigating our direct experience at this moment in a way that is not relying on words and phrases, and is not relying on believing in a created truth, but is relying on ever new impermanent nature and trying to understand that for ourselves, then I would say that there's a lot of truth to what Julian is saying there. But if someone's trying to sell you something at the shopping mall and they tell you that experience is the truth and there's no need for an understanding, well, they might also be preaching the Dhamma to you. They might be encouraging you to understand ever new impermanent nature, but you don't need to buy anything to understand that. You just need to experience. We need to try out and experiment with abandoning the importance that we give to words and phrases. You know, that's what this teaching, that's what this talk is all about. To experiment with that. What is it like to rely on ever new impermanent nature? What is it like to rely on impermanence, which is not vague, is not general, but is a constant, never-ending, permanent experience of reality, where every thought, every sensation, every object, every person, everything is arising and passing away moment by moment, continuously, without any limit, without any end, to the point where if you want to find out about the sensations that you were experiencing a minute ago or 5 minutes ago, it's impossible, at least in our state. You know, where are our loved ones who are not sitting here with us? We have no idea. They are wearing the mark, they are bearing the mark of ever new impermanent nature. So when we can detach from words and phrases, and we can look, see only, experience only this moment, we can start to gain an insight into this ever new impermanent nature that is not relying upon or based on words and phrases or any kind of understanding related to the created truth of me or mine or something or someone.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Okay, so we'll read, still have a little bit more time, so we'll read a couple more questions and answers. And these are some questions that were asked in March of 2014 at Wat Ananda in Singapore. Okay. Question. In order to abandon, I think that I should realize that I am grasping. Sometimes I don't realize that I am grasping as I am doing it, but later I realize it. When I am aware that I am grasping, then I can abandon the grasping, the attachment. I read in one of the interviews from Sayadaw. Sayadaw is a term that means like a royal teacher, Dhamma teacher, high teacher. Okay? The greatest royalty is the royalty of wisdom, compassion. That's what Sayadaw means. I read in one of the interviews from Sayadaw, don't be attached to the awareness. But in my opinion, if I am not aware that I am grasping, how can I abandon the grasping? Okay, we'll go to the answer from Sayadaw. To abandon the grasping, you must try to understand the present grasping of your mind. To know the present grasping, you must be mindful to what your mind is automatically doing. This mindfulness to your mind must be with detachment. In this way, your mind will be free and you can understand what the mind is automatically doing. The mind is grasping to the past, to the future, to sounds, smells, etc. The more you notice this mental grasping, the grasping habit will be less and less. If you are not mindful of what your mind is doing, you cannot control the grasping habit of your mind. The more you are mindful about the grasping action of your mind, the less grasping action will be happening. This is why you should be able to abandon unnecessary mental, verbal, and physical actions through mindfulness. But the mindfulness should always be with detachment. If you are mindful to physical and mental actions with the idea of self or entity belonging to someone, your mindfulness is with attachment. And in this way you cannot understand the grasping action of your mind and cannot abandon it. So the more that we can be mindful about this automatic process of grasping a hold to everything, our mind grasping a hold to everything, the less that grasping will take place. That is, that we will be able to abandon our actions of grasping, our verbal, mental, physical actions that are done with a sense of self, and thereby kind of turning the wheel of grasping, of getting involved, getting attached. So the mindfulness that we have should be with detachment. That means that our mindfulness is an avenue to detach, not just to be whatever we think mindful is. If we are mindful with a self, with a person, with a place, anything like this gets involved, then our mindfulness is just another version of turning the wheel, mindful with attachment. So what I take away from this is that our mindfulness in any moment, in any situation, is also this kind of reminder to step back. It's not enough to be doing mindfully, doing and knowing what you're doing, but you have to do without a self involved, without a me involved, without a mind involved. And that is to do only, that is to experience only, to be mindful only. Julian said, how is relieving suffering not attachment? By not attaching to the idea of relieving suffering. So that is to practice only, all right? We're not a computer. We can't wipe the slate clean. You know, we're not going to become a blank page and then practice meditation. We practice in a human way. We live a human life. And the more that we can detach from our created truth of a self, of a me, of a mind, of an I who can become enlightened, the more that we can do the work of mindfulness and detachment. that is leading to the ending of suffering. The more that we can do the work of compassionate action, the cultivation of loving friendliness towards myself, towards those I love, towards those I don't know, towards those I hate, and towards all beings. So the created truth is not to be rejected. It's not to be fought over. The created truth is to be used only, to be experienced only, to be used in this way of doing what we should do, to end suffering for ourselves and for others, and that is to practice mindfulness and detachment, without an idea or without relying on a particular person, a particular teacher, a particular place, or a particular time, but to be doing only, breathing only at any moment, walking only, shopping only, seeing only. So if you are mindful to physical and mental actions with the idea of a self or entity belonging to someone, your mindfulness is with attachment, and in this way you cannot understand the grasping action of your mind and cannot abandon it. So a great teacher once told to me, a Korean monk, you should to step back from any experience that you have. So to be uninvolved, just to experience only, and even to be uninvolved with the uninvolved. So on each layer that we step back, on each step that we take in mindfulness and detachment, that self, right, that I, that me, that mind is popping back in. So we continue to detach, to abandon those unnecessary mental, physical, verbal actions, and instead to do what we should do more and more. Question. Sometimes I am not aware of my mind, but I remember that some time ago I had such a kind of grasping. If I am aware of the present moment, can I contemplate the present grasping? Can being aware of the present moment help to know what I am grasping and to abandon it? Answer. To abandon grasping, there are two things you must do. You must abandon unnecessary actions, verbal, physical, and mental, and you must try to do good deeds such as necessary physical, verbal, and mental actions, including meditation, donation, and helping others. So this one is clear. All right, this is direct, this is practical. Pick up the bucket and water the plants. To abandon grasping, there are two things you must do. You must abandon unnecessary actions, and I'm sure many of us are way too involved with unnecessary actions, mental actions, physical actions, verbal actions, etc., etc. So you must abandon unnecessary actions, verbal, physical, and mental. And you must try to do good deeds, such as necessary physical, verbal, and mental actions, including meditation, donation, and helping others. Those good actions are necessary. Speaking about good deeds, speaking about meditation is also necessary. Thinking about meditation, thinking about doing good deeds is also necessary. To understand the present momentary truth of your mind, you must abandon unnecessary actions and you must be able to do necessary actions. Question. So thinking about not doing unnecessary actions or unnecessary speaking and not doing unnecessary things This will enable me to abandon all grasping. Answer. Reducing unnecessary actions and doing necessary actions. Both are necessary. But while you stop unnecessary actions, you must be mindful of your mind. While you do good deeds as well, you must be mindful of only your mind. Be balanced, be detached, and be pure. Instead of paying special attention to yourself, your body, just pay attention to your mind. Be mindful of your mind without attachment. While you reduce unnecessary actions and while you do necessary actions, just take care of your mind. Be balanced and pure through right understanding that any present momentary happening is just to be used for mindfulness only. In this way, the grasping habit of your mind will be less and less. Question. How can we know if we are practicing correctly, such as doing only without attachment, or mindfulness with detachment? If you think about right and wrong, you are not practicing the way of doing only without attachment. Abandoning unnecessary actions and doing good deeds are to be doing only. Do not grasp to these actions as real or as belonging to someone. When you grasp to actions as real or belonging to an entity or self, there will be thoughts such as, is it right or is it wrong? This means that there is mental grasping. When this kind of idea appears in your mind, it means that you have mental grasping. Try to be doing only, not to grasp to the action. Through mindfulness with right understanding, try to abandon the grasping habit of the mind. So we'll close this period of sharing and listening with this short sharing of doing freely. From being mindful of doing things with attachment, restriction and limitation comes the result that you try to do things freely without any attachment, restriction and limitation. So from being mindful of doing things with attachment, restriction and limitation comes the result that you try to do things freely without any attachment, restriction, and limitation. Is that coming through clearly to everyone? So from being aware of doing things with attachment, restriction, and limitation, from being aware of doing things with attachment in a restricted way and in a limited way, comes the result that we try to do things freely without any attachment. So we are aware that we are doing things with attachment, we are doing things in a restricted way, and we are doing things in a limited way with attachment. From being aware of that comes the result that you try to do things freely without any attachment, any restriction, and any limitation. If you cannot abandon the habit of working with restriction, then you will never learn to work freely without restriction. Do freely without grasping anything. You must not grasp anything of what you do and what you do not do. Try to do freely without any attachment. You will never realize the original truth without being free from any and all attachment. Okay, any questions or sharing experience? Okay, so we will finish here with just 3 sadhus. So everyone's invited to bring their hands together. When we say sadhu, it means excellent, wonderful, good job. We don't just know about this kind of experience, but we know that it is excellent, wonderful. Sure, it's free of a person or a place, but it is really good that we practice like this, that we experience like this. And we'll end our session with this chant of sadhu together. You can bring your hands together and try to chant along with me. All right? Sadhu. 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 Okay, thank you all for being here. We will have another more meditation focused session 2 hours from now, so you're welcome to join that. And enjoy your moment, enjoy your life, okay? Thank you for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Show. Bit of a different